Because we can't get the video and the guidance at the same time. It's a problem. The sound on this won't hold you through this.
As long as the sound plays, doesn't matter.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to this Sunday Dharma talk, a little bit different kind of talk this morning, basically talking about the Community Mindfulness Center that I've been thinking about for a long, long time, and it's slowly over the last year, 2 years, whatever it's been, slowly coming to fruition. I think when is the kickoff for the public for the campaign is today. Oh, so that's that what I'm doing?
Yes.
Okay, so community, why have a community mindfulness center? We have a meditation hall, we have a Zendo. We've been having regular meditation practices here for years, 12, 15 years. And in this building actually goes back, this room before it looked like it does now is a meditation hall back in 1974, 75, somewhere in that area. So the idea here is to not just get people to come in and learn Buddhism or meditate or something. How can we fundamentally extend the mindfulness practice, the awareness practice, which it's connected with all kinds of spiritual paths. It's connected with just basic mental health. But what's being talked about here is to encourage somebody walking down North Avenue or coming down Frelinghuysen or something, and walking by this and seeing a sign that says mindfulness, train your mind. Simple. I don't say Buddhism necessarily. We're not trying to get rid of Buddhism. We are trying to reach out to a community that we don't want to educate them about Buddhism. We want to help them educate themselves by looking at their mind. So what I'm encouraging you to do, if you're listening to me, and unless you're already a meditator, which you probably already are to some extent, sit still. Watch what moves in the mind, in all the six sense fields, without commenting, without interfering, or without doing anything with it. This is a discipline that is a natural part of your consciousness that you can access. If you're continually running this way, running that way, I don't care what it may be, any kind of cover up that you may use to keep from feeling bad, it's just going to go in a circle. You might be able to accomplish doing pretty good for 3 weeks, 3 months, maybe 3 years, maybe for most of your life, but you miss your life. Don't miss your life. Don't miss your life. How can you start by not missing your life? You have to sit down and see the way you keep avoiding and pushing things away in your own mind stream, so that you can see you're probably also doing that in your family, in your community, in your culture, in the world. You're pushing things back, covering them up, interpreting them so that they are more accessible or more acceptable. Don't do that. Don't lie to yourself. Stop it. We want to have a community mindfulness center where people can walk right in and have access to someone who is trained to teach mindfulness practice, so that we can have a way of reaching out to the community in a way that we have not really done so far, maybe a little bit, and combine this with everything in Karma House, mental health, therapies, acupuncture. We already offer that. We have a 900 square foot yoga studio. Some people have suggested maybe we should just use a yoga studio. No, that's for yoga. That needs to be for yoga. We need this. How many hundred square feet is it?
1,800 for the actual meditation hall.
Yes, so the meditation hall would hold a lot of people. And do we have any guarantee? No, we don't need a guarantee. You just need to do it. If you need a guarantee for something, you wouldn't do anything. Wouldn't you? Would you do something? What do you think? Why is that funny?
It just was.
Well, it is. It's funny. You don't. If you really look at it, what do you really want to do? What do you want to know? What do you want to understand? Don't we all want to understand who we are and why our emotions suddenly one day they're fine, the next day we just get bombarded by things, and what do we do with that? We want to blame something. This is the big mistake in the world. The world is always looking for causation, blaming. I am endeavoring through my own life experience and being born in this town a long time ago. I am looking to have a way that so anyone in this neighborhood, don't need a credential other than your feet to get here, come in, sit down, and have someone like Sokuzan, who's been teaching in the yoga studio, because that's all we have right now. Mindfulness practice, how to sit down, hold still, and just watch what comes and goes in the mind. Is she here?
Sentient.
Huh? What?
Sentient.
What did I say?
Sokuzan.
Where's Sokuzan? Is she just is an imposter? No, it's Sensu is the one. I get the monks mixed up because I named all of them. And now what happens, you get old and then I forget my own name. I quite often call myself Chiesa. And actually that feels correct at the time. So naming is very interesting. It's very helpful as long as you don't fixate on it. So that's my validation for what I just did. It was a mistake. So I can go on and on. I can kind of tumble around here. As you know, I can talk a lot. But if I could have some questions that would go into the area where if you have a concern about this, or if you have something about this vision that I'm endeavoring to share with you that you're perplexed about or seems a little off center, or I could go on and on, but let me hear it and I'll respond as best I can. Yes, sir.
Chuck without bowing. There's some concern around having enough people to facilitate
Yes.
a new center, as we're already stretched thin here.
Yes. What's the question?
How do we work with that? How are we going to do it?
We're doing it. We'll work with it. When it shows up, we will work with it. Sensu isn't even built yet. Sensu is already, not Sokuzan. Sensu is already doing that over there. And I think we had 9 people from the community coming from various directions. That's quite a bit. Milka was there also. Were you concerned about staffing, Milka? Are you concerned about it? Speak.
This moment, no.
Okay, this moment, okay. Well, at this moment, there's no problem. So can you more about that? Because that's a good question. How are we going to staff this?
Not yet, thank you.
Well, I can tell you, and this doesn't make me some kind of hero, but if there's nobody over there, I'll go over there for whatever energy I've got. My commitment to this doesn't have a source. I don't have that's why I'm saying, come and get me, come and push on me. See what you run into. This needs to happen. Will it happen? Yes, it'll happen. It'll happen. And it needs to happen. We don't need a backup. We don't need justification. That being said, I want your questions so that I can respond to your question as sincerely as I can. Yes.
You bowing for the people who don't live in this community, and there are many people online. Could you say something about how doing this in this community helps
Yes.
other
I
communities?
can, thank you. So the idea here is not just the vision isn't just about Battle Creek, although this was a place that I was born and is a place that 60, 70 years ago, there were several dozen factories in the town. Now there's, I think, 3 or 5 or 4, not many. All that moved to Brazil or to Nebraska or wherever. So it's all that area is all coming apart in that way. So as far as what was your question?
Are you bowing how this helps other
Good, thank you.
communities?
Thank you for functioning as my memory. So, and you're in your 60s, aren't you? Yeah, so. The way it helps is nothing is separate from anything else. It just looks like it's separate. And quite often we operate out of separation, out of getting away from this, stopping that, increasing the separation rather than including. Very hard to include when it looks so challenging and so difficult. So what I'm saying here is this needs to happen in every town. The way it looks to me from having been around for a while and looking at all the insane politics that are going on, that are about controlling people, about returning to some kind of a situation that was very difficult years ago and will be even more difficult if we continue in this direction. So we would continue to do this. If this works this way, then we'll do one in Kalamazoo or do one in Ann Arbor, or maybe in further away than that. More about that if you have it.
Bowing, it seems like just you've said that just training our own minds
Yes.
is helpful to every,
It is.
it is generally helpful. So is this like have an incremental? Is it-
Everything is incremental unless it's not. That skunk is zenny. It is. Everything is, if we look at the parts, the parts are happy to display themselves as being this and this and this, and then that happened, and this happened. And we buy into the illusion of time. And a time is a very, very powerful illusion that we think is real. We operate our lives out of that all the time. And should we? Probably. But you need to be aware that it's an illusion. You don't have to stop looking at the clock or anything like that. More? Then I'm gonna go to Sandro, whose arm is getting tired.
Sokuzan bowing. How can non-monks assist with staffing the community mindfulness?
They can too. You could go over there and teach mindfulness right now. You have enough experience as a meditator. We would just, if you wanted to do that, have you go over there and sit down. You take a short, very short course from me on how to keep it very simple, very direct. I did that with Senchu. Senchu's been a meditator for a long, long time as a fully ordained monk. You're going to be eventually. You can never figure out how to sew. That's a kind of an in joke there. So yes, you would be able to do that. Anybody who is a meditator who lives in the monastery would be able. We'd have to talk about it a little bit, how you keep from going into more difficult areas and how it's not about the idea of maintaining it. It's about being mindful of what is arising in the mind stream without pushing it, without pulling it or changing it or blaming, and without shutting down, turning ourselves away from it, so we can see the fundamental sanity of our own consciousness. We are fundamentally sane. There's nothing to fix or correct. If you think that way, then you or I or any of us will go to war and we'll start to use this as a cover-up or this as a manipulation. This is done with your consciousness. The person out here holding a cardboard sign who's begging for money could just as easily come in here, sit down, and look at their mind for a while. And when I say for a while, you're not going to be able to do this in a few weeks, yes.
Beyond bowing, this mindfulness center will be across the street from Battle Creek Central High School
Yes.
of about, I think, 1,800 youth enrolled. The high school you graduated from and
In 1959.
in
You should say that.
1959. Is there some significance there that you're looking at seeing?
It's very important. As I've said before, I came out of that high school in 1959, did not know what to do, knew I needed something from my mind was going in circles. I had all kinds of anger, really violent anger against myself and against my stepfather, basically, and did not know what to do with it. I just could see it was horribly dangerous. And so I went where the only place I could find any training. Like there wasn't a mindfulness center where I could come in, and there weren't a couple of offices over here where there were therapists. They didn't have therapists in those days that I know of. And so the idea there is, had I been able to walk out of there into a place to work with my mind in a more direct, you could even say sane and a way, but no, I had to go in the Marine Corps and learn how to kill people. So that's what our society is about. And don't say thank you for your service or I'll hit you. No, I probably wouldn't hit you, but I might say you're welcome. That's usually what I say. Because I know people that their intention around that is good, but they don't realize that I did not want to do that, but I had no choice. There was nothing made available in our society. I would like to make this available in our society. So someone walking out of that high school over there where your daughter attends walks out and has the opportunity. We're not here to promote or advertise anything or promise anything, but contrary to what is being promised by the military, they're promising everything, get you to come in so they can control you and perhaps protect things. More?
Beyond bowing, in the intensity of this monastic practice.
Oh, you think this is intense?
Well, if I make it intense.
What?
Intense instead of a tiny home.
Instead of I gotta meditate in tents instead of in tiny homes. She's following you. Go ahead.
Oh.
No, you lost track. Yeah. Yeah, I do that. Yeah.
Even bowing. You've often said in this context here that meditation may very well make your life feel worse.
It might.
And so I'm looking at the contrast of practice over at a mindfulness center. Is this something that could help people feel better in their day-to-day lives?
Absolutely, and it is no guarantee of anything. But one of the ways of feeling better is not necessarily an emotional dynamic where everything is solved and you're having and you're talking to silver mind control or something like that. Not that that's bad, or not that Scientology is bad, or not that. All those things are workable, but for this particular situation, this gives somebody a chance to do a little bit of a pivot away from all the things that are available, from therapy to psychiatry to just street drugs, and to all the other ways jogging. Jogging is great, but that is a way people use to avoid the things in the mind stream by just being very, very physically active, because the mind and physical form are not two separate things. They just look like it. So the idea there, if one can sit down, if they do have some difficulty, if they do open a cave of demons or difficulty in their mind, which is possible, there's someone there that can help them with it. Because anybody who's over there teaching, whether it's Sano or you or anyone else in here that's worked in this, have had a lot of experience with negativity, and they know how to do that just naturally. You already know how to pacify someone's negativity so that they can get a little bit of space before they go in and make a deeper dive into it, up to and including saying, don't meditate. It's very situational. That's why I'm here. It's because it's very important to meet people where they're at, but you can't meet them where they're at. You can somewhat if they're on Zoom, but if they're right here, if they just came off the street and they are working at McDonald's or wherever they may be, you can actually work with them directly. You have a lot more skill than you may feel that you do, just by having meditated for 8, 9 years now. Yeah. More about that?
No, thank
Good.
you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
She doesn't mind. Can you say how mindfulness can work in tandem and how it might
Yeah.
be just one factor in someone's wellness?
Yes, if you had 3 people, one person just might continue to work at the golf course and continue to come once or twice a week, or maybe on a Tuesday, like a Sensu's class is, and just practice mindfulness. And it not only works from the mindfulness, but then you're starting to talk to other people whose attitude towards this is mindfulness is helpful to them. Someone else might say, this is difficult, or I'm having difficulty with this or this. Then you have someone there like Sensu, who is not only a monk and a meditation teacher, but also a therapist. You have that person there to interact with that person. And so and I'll take the example of the 3 people. One might be fine to just do that. Another person might take them into really difficult areas because they've just spent the last 30 years of their life stuffing things or controlling things or drinking themselves away from the issue. And they're allowed to actually have a nice, when I say nice, I don't mean pleasant, but a good, solid, reasonable, sane way to return into that forest of one's confusion that has been maybe going on for their whole life. And finally, a way to just look at that and begin to work with their mind in a very fundamental way. Then another person might really need to come to the monastery. Say, I really need some more heavy lifting, to use that fancy kind of term. Come over here and spend some time in our retreat practice, like Denkoe is coming up pretty soon, which is a lot of meditation. But we don't promote that. I'm sure you know that already. We don't promote that. We wait and see if someone comes this way. The training is available, but I would like to have the training available for someone to just do a simple mindfulness practice, not necessarily convert to Buddhism or something like that. Did they get close to what you're looking for?
She doesn't mind. I'm also wondering if you could say something about how the space could accommodate other groups, not just our programming.
Thank you. So the idea there is, if it's a Buddhist program, we have images of traditional images of the Buddha and the Buddha's attendants, Ananda, and who's the other guy?
Mahakasyapa.
Mahakasyapa. So they're there, so that creates atmosphere so people can tune into this ancient tradition. Goes back 2,500 years, long time. Long time, and this teaching is still just as fresh today as it was 2,500 years ago. If you have a way of relating to it, it's necessary to have someone teach it, it seems. Coming back to your question, we'll have not that we're hiding anything, but just when it's time to have some other kind of program, maybe just possibly someone like Sokuzan might be giving a talk on acupuncture and how that works and why someone should do that or not do it. So we would bring a curtain down in front of those Buddhist images. It would be totally a program just for the public that anybody could come and go. It'd be a community mindfulness, not mindfulness, but a community meeting place. Could be for that. Other groups that are especially 501c3 groups that don't have the wherewithal to have a meeting space, then they in this community, there's got to be a list of that groups that you've been working with that they could just come over and use it, possibly no charge at all, or possibly they could possibly support or donate more.
Just to say that we are working with the Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation, doing racial healing circles. The American Association of University Women have used our space. We're working with Studio M, offering training for youth for quinceañera dancing. So just
What is that?
the quinceañera dancing.
Yeah.
When
Show me.
look it up.
You know how to do it.
No. Oh, not a bit.
Okay.
But just that there's a lot of organizations in the neighborhood that will benefit who don't have bricks and
Yeah.
mortar that can meet and further enrich our community.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes.
Biyun Bowing, how would you like to see or not see this mindfulness center working in collaboration with other religious communities in the area? And there's a lot of them here.
Very good. So just like the Presbyterian Church over here, the Reverend, I just met him recently. You've talked to him quite a bit, and he has offered to, or we've asked him, and he's agreed to let us use some of the parking spaces out here, so we don't have to build a big parking lot to fall in line with the city's rules and regulations regarding, you have a center, you have a building, you have to have so many parking spaces that are available. So that's just one way, but I'm happy to invite more people or go to their places and talk to them. I've not recently, but I've been to many churches and talked about Buddhism, talked about meditation. So do you have something in mind?
Biyun Bowing, I just thought about inviting what it would be like to invite other religious organizations in our space to share practices.
Yeah. Yes, I'm asking you to do that.
Okay.
Yes.
You're buying, mindfulness is quite a buzzword.
Yes.
In the public arena as well as the spiritual community. How do you define mindfulness?
Just it's a very simple form of just watching what's moving. Mindfulness is more in line with having some kind of agenda about being more mindful. So it's a little bit different than shikantaza, which is just precisely this. Just precisely this means the only thing you do is hold the body still and watch what comes this way and goes that way and goes this way. You just watch, you don't do much with it. Whereas mindfulness practice, depending on how it's taught, is about keeping track of the breathing, possibly keeping track of closing the eyes and scanning the body to see what's happening in the body. So it's more specific way of working with what is happening in all the sense fields, including the mind, with particular structures and designations. If you get really intensely into that, you get into tantric practices, which involve visualizations, mantras, mudras, and so on. Any way to use the body to access that part of the mind that is spinning around, is confused, and tends to be full of passion, aggression, ignorance. Mindfulness is just very simple. Sit down, hold still, watch the movement. That's shikantaza. In mindfulness, you might do it different ways. You might close your eyes. You might be aware of my way of teaching mindfulness is ASAP, alternating sense awareness practice. Be aware of the weight of your body, of gravity. Be aware of your clothing. And then alternate between that and be aware of what you're looking at, and the wall or the floor. Be aware of the sounds, could be birds or it could be the traffic, alternating back and forth. It's just basically being mindful of what's happening, coming and going. And if you can, don't add to it. But if you do add to it in Shikantaza, you just watch that. Whereas in mindfulness depends on which form it is. The Tibetan form of Shine is where something shows up and you label that thinking and you return to your breath. So it's an actual structure. I practiced that and taught it for 30 years. Thereabouts. I practiced it for 30 years and taught it close to that length of time. I don't teach that particularly now, although with this over here, that's probably going to show up because of it depends on who comes to do this. People that are going to come over there probably wouldn't have too much of an interest in Buddhism. And we don't care. But the important thing is to help someone look at the confusion in the mind rather than find some way to cover it up, which most of the society we're in offers ways to cover it up. I'll get to you in just a second. You had a question?
Was a good one. Actually, it was Unu's question, but my next question is there a reason that type or is the type of meditation that you're describing more accessible or have more of a mental health benefit than what we might do here at the monastery?
There's no way to figure that out. And though people, because they want to have control of things, will try to explain it and figure it out. I'm not interested in figuring anything out. I just want to meet people where they're at. And sometimes people are confused in such a way. The only thing they can do is Shikantaza. Sometimes people are confused in such a way that they can't even do mindfulness, let alone Shikantaza. They're not ready for that. They just want you to listen to them. And what do? I listen. And well, should I meditate? And I might say, I don't know, should you want to meditate? But there's no promise, no guarantee for any of that. Shanjian.
Are there going to be specific Buddhist trainings over there or like for us to use the space?
Yes.
And if so, how is that going to be used?
So the idea there is in traditional Buddhism, there's something called Zendo, which we're in now, and there's a Buddha hall. We don't have a Buddha hall where there's lectures and so on. So that probably will start showing that up that way over time. But what is important initially is to have a mindfulness, a meditation hall for mindfulness practice. And so there won't be banners hanging on the wall necessarily, unless we decide to have something over there because we need the space. And this isn't big enough, go over there and have practices that are particularly Buddhist. Does that help?
Yeah, Shanjian Belling. Yeah, I was just kind of thinking for people that are, watching online.
Yes.
And how it relate to like their own practice with them visiting and things like that. And that's all.
Yeah, it will be one of my favorite words is situational. A situation may show up where we're using that a lot more for that, or a situation may show up where the mindfulness situation seems to be very important to the community. We're not going to promote it by way of promising anything or advertising that way. We want to make announcements so it's available. That's what we're going to do on this very, very expensive reader board that's going out there in the next 2 months. About 2 months, where we'll be able to say mindfulness practice 6 p.m. No charge or something to that effect. Simple, short message. More? Yeah.
Ondo buying $1 million is a lot of money. Why put it here?
You're an accountant. Why don't you tell us why put it here? Or ask this gentleman right here. You have a response to that?
Well, I think it's good for people to know we've already raised 70% of that. So we're only looking at raising the last $300,000, of which there's a $75,000 matching grant we will be taking advantage of through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So we're nearly to our goal already. And really that's what we are asking for, is the community to ask questions so that they can recognize that this is an incredibly important building to support not just Sokokoji, but the greater Battle Creek community.
Yes.
And I feel that it will function as a keystone organization in a community that desperately needs support So really, we're not asking for $1 million. We've already got $700,000. We're looking to reach that last $225,000 and hoping that the community will step up and see that not only will it be a benefit to those listening, but far beyond, this is going to benefit people that are not in a position to put a building together and don't have the resources to construct this.
Should he come up here? Questions for Jason? Sano,
Sano bowing. You mentioned no charge about Tuesday night mindfulness. Will we be charging for any programming? Will we be requesting donations?
we probably will do that, but it'll be a light touch. The important thing is to help people. We're not here to make money. We're here to make, if we're trying to make money, I wouldn't be here. This is not a good way to make money. It doesn't work. If it weren't for Social Security, I wouldn't be able to even do this. And having worked all my life. So it was just, this is what I want to do, what I intend to do. I need your help. I'm asking for your help, as Jason is pointing out. We really need to do this. We need to do it not only for ourselves, this little community, but for this community, make this this kind of offering very important to do this. Yes.
I think people should also know that there is a tremendous amount of grant funding available for programming. There is not grant funding available for bricks and mortar. So once this building is built, there is ample opportunity to fund the programming through the philanthropic groups here in Battle Creek.
Yes, and I'd like to say that I've many of you may already know that Kellogg Foundation is very, very motivated to help with programs. So we can write something up through grant writing. Once we have the bricks and mortar to accommodate this, then I would ask for your creativity around it. How should we do this? How can we approach this? So it will fundamentally help other people train their minds to see more clearly, rather than go into all the alternatives that are obvious in society, different ways of working with your negativity that go away from you doing it into some kind of authority. This may look like an authority. You need, if you think this is somebody who bosses people around, all of my students are extremely independent. They're not interested in a dictator or a guru. Yes.
So Graham Bowing, where does the volition to give or serve or volunteer come from? And can it be encouraged?
So if you look at this, all of us are tuned into the society we're in, and all of us see different things that are happening in the public, see different things that are happening politically. And instead of actually seeing what is there, we tend to see what we think is there. So this is called a projection. So is the idea, this is what meditation does for you. It starts to show you that you're projecting a lot of things you think are true, or it's just stuff you're making up. It's not true. Find out what's true. This is what this is about, so you can find out what is fundamentally true. So to come back to your question, I just think it takes time to do that. And your question is the way of working with this, is to meet people where they're at and not be in too big of a rush. Take your time. Take our time to do this. More?
So Graham Bowing, an earlier question was about staffing the Community Mindfulness Center, the volition to work for a cause that is outside our family, our personal responsibilities. Can that volition to step out of that comfort level and serve be encouraged or grown, cultivated?
I think it can. Excuse me, I think that's part of what I'm here to do, is to encourage you. If you receive the vow to be with all things, to save all beings, put others before yourself, that's all this is. For those of you who are fully ordained, which you are, your life is about that. If you become fully ordained and you think this is about making you feel better, then you've missed it, because it's the vow, the Buddhist vow to be with all things, the Mahayana vow is to save others. This doesn't mean you do it for them, but you put them on your radar, so you work with them. And this doesn't mean you ignore your own neurosis or your craziness or your spinning in your own mind. You also work with that on the cushion, basically. But then when you go out to others, you put them first as much as you can, which you already do as a person who works with acupuncture, Chinese medicine, so on. You've been doing it for years and years. I understand you're somewhat asking on behalf of others, because I know you're a tireless servant of all beings.
so current going, but I'm concerned about burning out.
You can't burn out what isn't lit. You can't, I mean that. Reflect on it. If you think that's just kind of a zenny saying, not exactly. That's very pragmatic. Yes, sir.
Sokuzan, I'm wondering if there's a vision around eventually supporting monks who have full-time jobs, who want to serve.
Of course, it's a really big vision, and for to elaborate on it too much, it just can get, I see this, I'm looking at it. It's not something in the future. It's right here, right now. It's always right here. So this is why I'm able to do this. Yes.
Mozuku bowing, I'm sitting here watching all the technology we're using in this room. Is there consideration for how to include people online and the technology? I didn't know if you wanted to say something about, is that included in what the fundraising is?
Everything will include everything. Anyone that's on here, I see people on there that I haven't seen in quite a while. And so, but yes, everyone will find ways to do that we'll use all the technology we can. If that's what you're asking about. Yes, what's happening over there, maybe not the first 3 weeks, 3 months or something like that. But eventually we'll be able to Zoom this, but we'll do it. We take our time doing this. We don't rush. When you have a really strong goal and you rush towards it, you miss all the footprints that need to lead up to that. Go slow. Look, how long have we been working on this? When did this vision first show up? Do you remember?
I think it was when you were in high
It
school.
was in 1958, yes. Long time. And I didn't know what it was. I just didn't know what it was. I knew that it was this town. Yes.
Mozuku bowing, I just, guess I wanted to share that we are including plans and working with a professional company to be able to do some pretty cool things from a technology standpoint that down the road would include people online in a
Good.
way that we struggle to do.
Good to hear that. More about, I was given a bunch of notes that I've not looked at all. You have a note?
No.
No, well, go ahead. What's your question?
You said to Sokuzan, that, the vow we as monks live by is to save others. So
Yes.
does that mean we're gonna go out and proselytize?
No proselytization.
Can you say
Nothing.
what that?
I'm saying you do it in your mind stream. You don't do it out to make people think you're a helpful person. This is just bullshit. Pardon my French. It's just, don't lie to yourself. Actually do it here. Do it here. Do it up here, and what a wonderful helper you are. Do it here, and people won't even know that you're dedicated to helping them, because you're not meddling with them and you're respecting their confusion. You have to respect people's confusion. Otherwise you keep trying to fix them or medicate them or get them to do this or do that. Don't do that. Don't meddle with people. Wait for them to come to you. And if they don't come to you, then they don't come to you. You don't go out and advertise or make promises. It's just a very cheap way of working with a spiritual path.
Joseph, could you say a little bit more about accessibility? It seems like the space is meant to create accessibility for people.
Over here at the Mindfulness Center?
Yes.
Yes. What do you got in mind?
Well, you've said that we don't promote. So what is it about the center that is specifically opening accessibility for people? Maybe not just physically, but also people walking by, the high school students that you mentioned.
It's the important thing, rather than promoting, which involves promising or something, we want to make it available. This is available, and we have to use the words that are used in society. This is why we're able to use the word mindfulness. It's probably more workable than a word like meditation, although they're pretty much the similar situation. So we're going to have a sign out there. We're putting a ton of money just in that sign because it's so very, very important to say, this is what's here. This is what we're doing. So we're going to do that, and then we'll see how that works. You have an idea of a program you'd like to see over there? Because that's where I would go with it. What do you want to do?
I'm thinking more, and instead of programs, I'm thinking about the physical space as it brings people in, and how they feel when they go in, and what keeps them there.
Well, we have all kinds of pictures and design. We work with an architect and with a builder, and so being very careful. Yes.
I would think, just Senchi's recent experience over at the, yoga studio where people stayed behind and it just seemed like there was a hunger for community.
And very interested in that it was going to happen again the following Tuesday. My way of doing this from the time I first had a meditation center up and upstairs in the front bedroom there in 1970, whatever it was, mid 1970s, was just do it anyway. If you just come and you show up and this is what it is, we advertised in the shopper, meditation, practice and study, and a phone number on how we get here. And people would come, 3 people, 4 people, then nobody would show up. Just do it anyway. But as far as this space, we want to put quite a bit of money in having a structure and having it look good and having it be welcoming along the lines of what you're asking about. We're just trying to find enough. It costs a lot of money to make things welcoming. When you start out with
I think just to the physical accessibility too, is we're going beyond ADA standards to meet universal design standards. So it is physically accessible and comfortable for all bodies.
Yes, good, thank you. More about in that area? About that.
How might Joseph, how might nature or the plant life and kind of the intersection between indoor and outdoor how might that be incorporated in the space?
Have you been to the garden in front of Karma House?
Yes.
You know what it is?
Yes.
Those are plants.
Yeah.
And where did those plants come from?
The ground.
Come on.
We
Talk about it a little bit.
We recently installed a native pollinator garden. So it is made from it is 500 plants that are all Michigan genotype, meaning not only are they native to Michigan, but they're sourced from Michigan to support pollinators and monarch butterflies. And we have been registered on the National Monarch Watch. So it's a very intentional wild garden full of milkweed and flowering plants from early spring through late fall. And I have a passion for that. So further landscaping, which will be necessary by city code, will continue to incorporate these gardens, which also can be used for educational purposes.
Did that touch on a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So what about all those other magical things we're doing? We haven't talked about that. I think teaching people how to skydive in the back. No. Question.
Biyun Bowing, I think the slogan is discovering basic goodness. Is that?
Yeah, or basic sanity, either one.
Okay.
Just basically, everything is basically good. Nothing needs to be fixed. I'm happy to respond to questions out of that.
Yeah. Beyond Bowing, if we're endeavoring to discover basic goodness, why not look at what we think is basic goodness and not why look at into the darkness and confusion and not what we think is basic goodness?
Because the darkness and confusion is covering up the basic goodness. The basic goodness is not does not have a status as a thing. It's not a thing. It's not some kind of thing you can get. This is more in the area of theism, which is an authentic way to practice a spiritual path. It's just different. This is non-theistic, no center for anything. So therefore, if you need to look into the darkness, which rather than look into what might be called in some circles as evil, you look right into that. And this practice, this training, going back so long, including mindfulness practice, gives you the chance to start where you are. Sit down, watch the mind show up and turn this way and turn that way and go away. And it's just a witnessing quality in the consciousness, which doesn't happen unless the body's sitting very still. Body and mind are not two different things. They just look like it. So if you hold very still, it probably will not feel very comfortable for a while because we use the movement of the body to cover up what's happening in the mind. You've noticed that? More questions around that?
Beyond Bowing, as we begin to see this cover up, the darkness and confusion, what should I do with that? That
Don't do anything. Should I have said that in a lower voice? Don't do anything. Just look at it. Simply put, don't need to be silly about it. But I'm saying whatever shows up, you have it coming. It doesn't mean you did anything. That doesn't mean you're guilty of whatever shows up in your mind. Most people in society are trying to stop negative feelings, encourage positive feelings. And I'm not against that. Or you might need to do some of that. But if you do it to the extent that you just will not face the stuff that shows up in your mind stream, then that stuff goes underground. It can show up as issues in your body. It can, because body and mind are not separate. So receive it, receive it, receive it. And how do you do that? You train yourself to receive by receiving what shows up in your mind first. Then you can show you are more in a better position to receive what shows up in your life in the form of other people and their comments and their language and their accusations, whatever it may be. You actually receive that. You actually can meet other people's confusion without trying to fix them, change them, or blame them. More?
Bune bowing. Well, I was endeavoring to ask that question from the perspective of somebody new, somebody who's kind of caught on to the slogan of discovering basic goodness, and now they're looking at confusion and darkness and they don't know what to do with it. Is that the same instruction?
So that's why it's necessary to have someone like Senchu there, or you. If someone were to ask you the question you're asking me, you have enough experience as a meditator that you would have an idea about. It would depend on who it is, because some people are ready to receive a more direct instruction. Well, this is something you have to go through. So do you want to do this? Do you want to? And you can also make it available to someone, as I do when I'm talking to someone. You don't have to do this. You could leave. You could go do something else in your life. And I'm not going to say sarcastically, you can go and cover up your life. I'm not going to say that. They may need to do that. We have to really have respect for people's confusion. Otherwise, we can't help them. We're just going to go with right and wrong. We have to respect them. More?
I have one more.
One more, and then I'll go to Sanho.
Bune bowing. What is basic goodness?
Basic goodness has no position. It's just a fundamental nature of everything. It's called Dharmakaya. It's a fancy words for it. We try to have words so we can get to it somehow. It's not heaven, it's not hell, and it's not in between. It's just fundamental. It's like space. You ever notice how space totally accommodates everything? Space doesn't say no birds fly here. No, birds get to do whatever they want. You ever wanted to be a bird? How's that going? Pretty hard. How about you? Want to be a bird? Want to be a bird, Mitch?
Be pretty great.
Joseph, want to be a bird?
Be a wolf.
Be a wolf?
Wolf.
Wolves don't have wings.
They can run.
You spell it with a W, I'll go with you. What? Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to lend confusion after I respond to Sanho's question? He said, arm is getting very tired way up there in the air. And you should just lean it against the wall. That would work. Go ahead, Sanho. And then I'll go to the Zoom.
You mentioned positivity. This Dharma talk is very positive and people are engaging with it in an interesting way. Is that the kind of energy that you want brought over to the Community Mindfulness Center?
Yes. Yes, we're not going to talk about directly, unless someone brings it up. We're not going to go into Buddhist teaching about the nature of the six realms. Not at this point. That's too complicated and sophisticated stuff. Now, if somebody's been meditating for several years, whether it's shamatha vipassana, or whether it's just a basic, simple mindfulness practice, or whether it's Shikantaza, we just meet people where they're at. Everyone runs into different kinds of karma. We've all been here forever. We just keep coming back in human form. Anyone here? Yuhong?
Yuhong Baoying. I'm wondering, the classes the center offers, are they based on the shamatha practice, or is that a varies depending the instructors? Baoying?
well, we probably won't call it shamatha, although that's a Sanskrit word that means just mindfulness. We'll probably call it something that anyone seeing the word mindfulness has had enough exposure in the news from like the work of John Kabat-Zinn and other teachers of mindfulness practice. Has a kind of it's a kind of pre-validated in a sense. It's common. People know about it. Be mindful, be aware. People might even use that word in their everyday language without really realizing what it's about. So, but no, we would talk about it as mindfulness. But it may go into an area where we're teaching that in such a way that it's more about keeping track more definitely, like sense of touch, sense of hearing, and maybe going back and forth between those. Those are just very simple mindfulness techniques that I use when teaching shikantaza, bending on what someone's running into in their mental chemistry.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Are there further questions on Zoom?
Sanji bowing.
Go ahead, Sanji.
13 years ago, when there were just 3 residents, did you have a plan for today?
I don't plan anything. I didn't even plan to get here. I'm not trying to be obscure or silly. I just don't plan anything. And if those of you are around here know that I don't, but I have a vision, and that doesn't make me some kind of fancy visionary. The vision has been there for a long time. It just takes a long time to see how this is going to put itself together, because I don't really do anything that I could describe as some kind of a plan where I'm living up to certain this or that situation.
Sanji Pine. So a plan really isn't necessary to make this happen.
I'm not saying there doesn't need to be planning. Of course there does, but what I've said often, I don't mean this just to be silly, but how do you know it's a plan? It doesn't work. Plans never work. If you plan something, then this happens, that happens, and then the tree fell over, and then your truck didn't start, and so plans don't work. But you still need to plan. But keep in mind that area is fraught with dependent origination, with difficulty. Things that you cannot predict are coming and going, coming and going. Yes, sir, Mitch.
Mitch Bowing. I'm trying to picture your vision and what would be contained within the space. And I'm kind of picturing the Zendo, but on a larger scale. Or also would it be more of like a community center with like foosball and ping pong? That would seem to distract from the thing that it is doing, but I'm just trying to.
Ping pong, yes. Foosball, no.
Okay.
So what am I saying? I'm just saying, I wouldn't rule that out. I'm not ruling anything out, but we'll take a look and see what is the nature of the community that shows up. People down the street, people that we see walking here and there, walking past the monastery, or walking past the temple. So I think it'll be very situational. Did I get close to what you're looking for there, or some other question?
Mitch Bowing. Yeah. I mean, I was just we've been talking about it for an hour and I don't have again, I know that it's open to interpretation and change.
Well, I think that's your fault.
That's probably it. Yeah, you got it. But okay, I kept thinking of foosball, so there we go. All right, anyway. Mitch Bowing.
Not getting out of here that quick. He's not done with it yet. What do you want to know? Seriously, what do you mean?
Well, I know that you're going to be building it. I'm a builder. I would hope that at some point I'll be over there assisting in the building. So I guess I was just kind of, one of the first things I start to think of is a plan in my head of what will be going in and what will be coming out. And I guess,
well, we need builders, and let me just appreciate,
Demo, unbuilders.
we need unbuilders.
Builders.
Yeah, we need demo. We have several things that have to be destroyed before we can build something, build a castle or whatever it may be. We'll keep that in mind. Thank you. You'll definitely be included. Sano.
Sound about it. I really want to use a sledgehammer. Can I do that?
Yeah, as long as you use it in your own apartment.
On the
But no,
roof.
you can use it on your new house, because you're gonna have to go out there and work on that wall out in the back. That needs some. That house, are you buying a house here pretty quick? Yeah. You can use it there. I'll get somebody to help you with that. Milka.
Milka Bowing, a question from YouTube, from
Yes.
Sean Baxter.
John.
After visiting the Mindfulness Center, how available would you be, Sokuzan, to these new visitors?
I'm available to everybody. You might not be able to see me in the next 10 minutes, but I'm available to everybody. I've never turned anyone down at any time in any direction. So that doesn't make me so wonderful. It just means that I can't help that. I don't choose to be a helpful person. I cannot help it. I don't know how this even functions, but yes, I would be very available to those people. As I think I said, I don't know if it was today, but maybe it was, I don't know. But if the trouble with staffing, I'll go over there. If I can't get one of these, 13, 14, how many monks are there here? Plus the residents that are also have, maybe they might not be fully ordained as monks, but some of them have been meditating longer than the monks have. So they're perfectly capable of sitting down in front of a group of people and saying, giving very simple mindfulness instructions. So, but if those people aren't available, I'll go. I'm actually quite jealous of Senshu. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Yes,
Jalen had a question on the chat box.
he does. What is it? What does
Do
the
you want me to
question
read
say?
it?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Jalen asks, Jalen Bowing, what forms will be placed to ensure the center does not function to evangelize visitors into becoming Buddhist monks?
You don't have to do forms. There's not going to be any evangelizing. People have to do that on their own. If you have not been around this teacher very much, you'll see that I don't promote anything. The only thing I say is train your mind. And if you want to go somewhere else and do that, go ahead. You don't have to do it here. There might be another way you should be doing it. But as far as I know, there's no evangelizing going on. Other than saying, I think this would be a good idea to have a community mindfulness center. We need your help. Is that evangelizing? And well, maybe I am evangelizing. But I think we need to do this to make, think about it. Look at the politics in the world. It's just insane. There's that I know of, there's very few situations, even about when it comes to mindfulness, that aren't about making money, charging a bunch of fees, if you look into it. And it's not so much about the welfare of the person who is just training your mind. It's about getting members, getting membership, getting dues, getting, and maybe a little bit of mindfulness training or something. I can't say if that's true in every case, but what little I've seen, I saw a little bit of that in New York City a few years ago with, what was that called? Mindful, that organization, which was it was a good organization. I even taught there a little bit, but I can't take it yet. Thank you. But the fundamental situation there was charge the fee. And why did they do that? Because probably their rent was outrageous in New York City. Well, our rent is not too bad here, is it? It's a good place to do it. Rather than do it in New York City, rather than do it in Grand Rapids, rather than do it in Kalamazoo. We looked at all those places. We're going to do it right here. We should be done right here, right in this area of where the society needs some basic sanity introduced, one person at a time.
So the website is live. It's on sokukoji.org. We have renderings of the new space with a vaulted ceiling and skylights, and what the stage will look like, whether it's secular or spiritual setup. All on sokukoji.org /mindfulness-center. So you need to type in /mindfulness-center to see. There's a video. And there are drone shots of our campus.
I'd also like to say that when you see the stage set or the altar where the Buddhist figures are, I tried to get the architect to use the Buddhas that I had made in China that are over there now. I took pictures and gave them, so they would not use them. So the architect, they're just using their idea of what Buddhas look like. That's not what it's going to look like. So you can only twist so many arms, especially if they're charging you a fee. So anyway, what you see there is the three images, the Buddhas there and the two attendants. They're also gold, but they're much different shape. Those look more like They're from Thailand or someplace, I'm not sure. So not wrong, just not the atmosphere that I would like them to have created, that I did talk to them about a few times, and with nothing forthcoming. Okay, end of complaint. Yes.
Joseph Bowing, looking around the Zendo, it's fairly easy to see that we're very light skinned as a percentage of the population, or where we have lots of European heritage.
Yes.
Would there be any specific policies, or outreach to increase diversity, or
I think
accessibility for other cultures and maybe other languages?
Absolutely, and I'm saying you can help with that, since you speak Spanish, speak fluently, so you can help with that. We have had people come and go. They don't tend to be magnetized by this too much because of all the cultural things that they're dealing with. But we have had people come and go in that who are from different backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, and so on. And so yes, let's put it this way: we're open to that. I don't want to promote stuff like that. I would like it to be, we're in the neighborhood. We're in a neighborhood that if you went right down and knocked on 15 doors, probably half the people that would come here would be black. Would they be black? No, black people everywhere. And usually they come and ask for money. What does that mean? First thought, best thought. What does that mean? They come and ask for money.
I'm not sure.
What it means is their projection of who we are is very similar to our projection of who they are. Those happen both directions. So what we're trying to do is use this, and if we invite them to come in, we might be able to change not only their projections, but our projections. And the prejudices I was trained in the 1940s and 50s when I was very young, that's not gone away. I'm still prejudiced. I just know that it's not true. But the feeling, the emotion is still there. Let's work with it. We'll do this together. We'll do it as whatever, white people, I don't know what you want to call it, but we can do it together. I'm very interested in being more, I don't know, welcoming, I guess is the word. But this center would help us do that. I think it would be, you would have a sign that says you're welcome, and it doesn't say if you're white, if you're black, it just says you're welcome. And when those people come in, they get met by living person. Maybe they're white people, maybe they come in for 3 or 4 weeks, and then they're asked to help host the situation. Some people are just naturals for doing that. Yes, sir. Yin Long, anything? Any questions?
Yin Long Bowing. A moment ago, you mentioned the rent in New York.
Yes.
And you said it's not as high here. The 700,000 that's already been raised, is that all donations?
No, quite a bit of it is, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's, we're borrowing money because, well, I don't want to borrow, but you know, if someone wants to come and give us money, well, they can maybe not borrow, but I want to do it. And I'm willing to go out on the proverbial borrowing limb to get it done, somehow get it done. Yes, sir.
Yin Long Bowing. So it seems like getting this place built is the first step. But aside from all the staffing questions, how do we plan to pay back those loans and pay the utilities if we're not charging any admission or any fees?
We're going to ask for help like we've been doing all along, like we've been doing since this whole thing started. Ask for donations, ask for Donna, ask for that. And also, maybe we'll do something with programming. Maybe we'll do something in that area of charging a fee for certain things. But generally, it needs to be open so people coming in can sit down and learn to meditate. That's not going to be a fee. So that will be, if you can help, you can help. But if you can't, then you come and meditate anyway. The door will be open at a certain time and closed. There'll be bathrooms, and there'll be someone to help you with your meditation practice. And as far as trying to put together some kind of a how we're going to pay for it thing, I don't know. If I were looking at that, I don't. If I had to go by that, I probably wouldn't do it. But I can't go by that. I have to go by the inspiration, the vision to do this. This needs to happen. And what's that movie? If you build it, they will come. Kind of movie.
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams. Well, this is Field of Vision. Same thing, maybe. It's that kind of thing. It's been around for a long time. I didn't know what it was many years ago. I could feel it, and I'm still feeling it. And it allows me to sit up here and pull forth in this way, and without having any idea what I'm going to say at all. Good one. Thank you. Don't you? Nothing? Don't you want to complain about something? What?
Lots of things.
Just give me one. Not gonna do it? Don't be so selfish. Let me know what's happening with you. Tell me about this. What's happening?
Similar questions that have already been asked,
Yes,
staffing and funding.
I don't worry about those. Staffing will happen. I'll call you up and say, can you come and help us? What will you say? No. No, you won't. You've never said no to me. Oh, you're gonna start? Look, go ahead.
I might.
Look at the negativity rather than reacting to the negativity. This is what this is about. This is what this is about, is don't believe your thoughts and don't ignore your thoughts. Can you do that? It's called a middle way. Not too tight, not too loose. Just receive what shows up without jumping off from what shows up to come to a conclusion about anything. Don't do that. Anything? Sanho.
Sanho Bowie, to people's concerns about the part of the money that is a loan from that funding source, what do we do if we can't pay back that loan in the amount of time that we have?
We'll probably lose our shirt. Does that work?
Sanho Bowie.
And I don't care what happens. I can yell that so that the windows will break. It's not about outcomes, my friends. It is about your intention. If you're always looking for what's going to happen, then you're operating out of hope and fear. I'm not going to do that. I don't care what happens. That doesn't mean I'm going to take my eye off from what's happening. But if you're concerned about what will happen, who will staff it, you want to operate that way, then go ahead. I'm not going to stop you, but I'm saying I don't function that way. That's why I'm sitting up here. You're not. We can do this. This can be done. I'm not saying you need to dig deep in your pocket and pull out money that you can't afford. But if you're at all inspired by what I'm saying, then help us as much as you can. Don't have to go over the deep end. But don't necessarily buy into the hope and fear around it. And that means don't push it away either. Don't cover up the fear. Receive it. Be very generous with your mind stream. This doesn't mean you're welcoming the negativity, but when the negativity knocks at the door, open it, allow it to come in. Take a good look at it. See where that came from, if you can. And what will you find? There's no source for that. You start finding a source for something, you're starting to blame. The whole world is operating out of right and wrong, up and down, back and forth, success and failure. We're not going to do that. At least I'm not. As long as I'm alive, that's not going to happen. Further questions anywhere before we turn it over to fate?
Yuhong Baoying.
Young.
I have two questions. The first question is a
Both
certain.
Mandarin first. Go ahead.
你好, 你好.
Yeah.
你好, everybody. My first question is, at a certain point, if you're asked to give a Dharma talk to the people who are at the mindfulness center or who are very new to mindfulness, will you order what you're going to say to them?
Yes. I've given many Dharma talks without even mentioning the word Buddhism or Dharma. I've given it to literally hundreds and hundreds of talks to people who are dealing with drug addiction. And never, they knew I was a monk, but I never mentioned, unless they ask a question, well, how does this tie in with this or this? I just talk about watching the mind and not pushing it, pulling it, or shutting down. And and there are hundreds of talks like that. Right over here at the drug rehab center where I taught for, I don't know, 8 or 9 years, something like that. That's now closed down now because of, I think, COVID interfered with their operation. But yes, I can give a talk without ever mentioning Buddhism at all, because it's about training the mind to see clearly. It's not about believing in Buddhism. I don't even believe in Buddhism. I don't believe in anything, nor do I disbelieve in anything, nor do I ignore anything. Those are the 3 poisons. Pushing, pulling, shutting down. Don't do any of that. How do you do that? You see the way you keep reacting and pushing and pulling based on what? On fear that you think is caused by those guys or that situation or this. Be responsible for your feelings. Finally, after all these lifetimes of coming and going, here you are again, listening to somebody telling you, badgering you, saying, be responsible for your feelings. You be responsible. Don't have a feeling and then say, well, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't feel this way. Yes, you would. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have another question?
Yes, I do. I can wait.
Okay, wait. We got to go to a wedding. Who's getting married? A couple people. Kind of humor is that?
Lit around.
May the merit of this penetrate into all places, so that we and every sentient being together can realize the Buddha's way. Ji-ho san shi shi-fu shi-song gu-sa mo-go-sa mo-go-ho-ja-ho-ro-mi. The 10 directions, the 3 times, all Buddhas, all venerable ones, Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, the great Prajna Paramita. O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, please hear us. Please come down out of the light and protect Sokukoji Buddhist Temple Monastery, our Sangha, families, friends, and visitors. Heal everyone who is unhappy, sick, or suffering, and fill them with light.